Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated Legacy action. Today we are not playing a Legacy League, we are playing a Legacy Super Qualifier. This is a higher competitive event than a Legacy League, so we're playing something a bit spiky and a bit good here. So we're playing Canadian Threshold. This is a deck that I tested for the European Legacy Masters and kind of wish I played this over the deck I did play in the end. I think it's quite potent. I've played it on my channel a couple of times before, both to trophy finishes. So, what is this deck? Well, it's Canadian Threshold, which is a quintessential tempo deck. So we are aiming to put down a threat in the form of Dragon's Rage Channeler or Nimble Mongoose as soon as possible. And then we'll be following up with things like Tarmogoyf and Murktide Regent. We've got some interaction in the form of counter spells, as you'd expect, Dazes, Force of Wills and Spell Pierce. And then we have some removal in the form of Lightning Bolt, Tarfire and Vapor Snag. Vapor Snag pretty good against these trolls. You can just send them right back to their hand, and yeah, they can try and draw another swamp with it, but they don't have a 6/5 in play, and they've taken 6 life off of reanimating it, which is going to be helpful for our win condition of beating them down. Then we have 4 Stifle and 4 Wasteland, which is kind of one of the defining features of the Canadian Threshold deck, because we can play a threat and keep our opponents off balance long enough to get that threat to cross the line. Why I like this deck at the moment as well is Stifle is pretty useful in a world of Beseech the Mirror combo decks. So you can stifle a Storm trigger, you can stifle a Helm of Obedience activation, things like that. So you can buy yourself a reasonable amount of time or just completely crumble their plan from underneath them. We've got, as you would expect, our 8 cantrips and 2 Mishra's Baubles. The only difference in the main deck between this one and the last time I played it is we have a Tarfire over one of the Baubles. I don't like having too many Baubles in a world of Orcish Bowmasters, and Tarfire is just another answer for Orcish Bowmasters that has a different type for both Delirium and Tarmogoyf being pumped up. Then we have the 1 Vapor Snag instead of the Unholy Heat. I think you could probably run Unholy Heat instead of this Vapor Snag, but I wanted another blue card, and I wanted a guaranteed way of being able to get rid of a big scary thing in play like a troll. This may come back to bite us, and we may wish it was the Unholy Heat instead of the Vapor Snag, but we're going to try this today and see how it fares. Mana base wise, we're playing the same mana base we played 12 years ago. So 3 Trops, 3 Volks, bunch of fetches. We should probably split these fetches up. I might do that before the tournament starts, but essentially they're all blue fetch. Sideboard wise, we've got ourselves some Graveyard Hate in the form of Surgical Extraction. We've got Pyroblasts for the blue decks we want to face. If we need to mess with artifact decks, we've got a couple of Meltdowns and a Null Rod. And one of the reasons I really like this deck is we get to play Veil of Summer, which is incredibly potent in a world of not only things like Tendrils of Agony you getting pointed at your face, but also all the sort of blue-black scam decks are quite prevalent. We have 1 Grafdigger's Cage to mess with opponents' graveyards in terms of what they can bring out, but this also spills over into hitting Natural Orders and Green Sun Zeniths. We have 1 Casting the Fire, which can kill Bowmasters or exile problem artifacts like the 1 Ring, for example. So we effectively have 2 answers for the 1 Ring outside of counter spells, which is pretty nice. And then we also have 1 life from the Loam. So this is old technology that I really enjoyed. So in some matchups, you could just assemble a Wasteland lock and that would be good. So this is a thing that we've got in our deck that we can search for in those matchups. And that's pretty much it for the deck. A classic tempo deck from like 12 years ago pretty much, but this is the flavour of Delver I like to play. Obviously it doesn't have Delvers. We are on our little friend Mongoose. And that's about it. So sit back and enjoy. This is going to be a longer video than normal because this tournament is going to be more rounds than a league. Remember to like and subscribe and get in touch if you would like a donation deck on the channel. Let's play some Legacy. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past. So why not give them a try? Right, we're on the play for round 1. We have a Dragon's Rage Channeler into some other stuff here. This is kind of like a classic tempo-y style hand. We will keep this. Awkwardly, I have the invocation versions of these, which I do not like, and we also have Value of Gorgoroth. So we're going to annoy our opponents today. That was unintentional, it was just the one that it auto-selected for me. But we'll go and get a Volcanic, we'll deploy our Dragon's Rage Channeler, and then we will sort of sit on our Daze and Force of Will, Stifle, Bolt. Loads of great tools. Alright, let's see what our opponent's up to. A Mystic Sanctuary tapped. Oh no, you're going to have a bad time. That's a sign of weakness if ever there was one. Let's say no to this. Attack. So we've got Daze, Force of Will, Stifle, and Lightning Bolt. We can cast some combination of those. They want to Wasteland us, do they? I'm going to say no to that one. This also gets us a Veil trigger. If we put this into the graveyard, that's a creature. This will be an instant, so we just need a sorcery now. A Grief. How do I feel about this? I would lose one card either way, right? So they've already played their land. Sure, we'll do this, try and surveil a sorcery in so we can beat down with a better creature here. This gives us a 3/3. Right, so there's a Force of Will exiling a Ponder here. Okay, sure. So they get to take our Force or our Lightning Bolt here. Alright, it's our turn. So we have a choice. We play here. I think we want to play out the Tropical. We lost our Lightning Bolt there, but we're getting in for some damage here. So we have Force of Will and we have Stifle. Our opponent doesn't have any mana over there. So any fetch lands is going to be a real bad time for them. Now we have Lightning Bolt available. We don't want to fire this off immediately. We're just going to sit on these wonderful tools we have now. And our opponent's just not got anything going on over there. Let's go attacks. Let's bash for 3. Let's deploy another little friend. Alright. The Stifle Wasteland plan coming together. So they showed us Force of Will, Ponder, as well as all the black cards. So we're looking at what I would expect to be a pretty standard scam list. So things that are useful here. Veil of Summers are useful. Grafdigger's Cage has some text. Pyroblasts are okay, but not incredible. And Surgicals are potentially useful too. On the play, our Dazes are looking a little bit weaker. And also our Forces, we don't really want to be two-falling ourselves against the black deck that's going to be Thought-Seizing us a bunch. So if we do something like this, we can add in like a Pyroblast to deal with a Murktide. I don't hate that. I do want 3 Surgicals. I think that's too many. I think I'd rather have a second Pyroblast here. Do we want 2 Surgicals or just the 1? I think 2 Surgicals is probably fine. Everything else I'm happy with for now. We could board in the Loam and start and just strip them off of lands, but they're probably going to have some basics in their deck due to the Swamp Cyclers. So I think we're just going to submit like this. I do want this Casting into Fire to deal with Bowmasters. We do have a lot of things to deal with Bowmasters already. Let's have a Casting into Fire instead of that. We'll just have the 1 Surgical. Because you don't really want to be drawing multiples of these. This hand, pretty good. It answers stuff. It can dig for more things. We have a Nimble Mongoose. Unfortunately, it's not the art I like, but sometimes you're not going to get there. No Veil of Summer here, though. That's what our opponent's rolling with on turn 1. Just a Swamp and a Pass. Interesting. So Wasteland not really doing much there. So I think we play a threat that doesn't get killed by Orcish Bowmasters. And we're kicking it old school. So obviously they can play an Orcish Bowmasters. Okay, they've just pitched the Orcish Bowmasters to Grief here. So they could always play one to try and block our Mongoose. But we're going to lose a card here. And if they've got to reanimate, we're going to lose another card. And that makes the exchange fair as a 3 for 3. Because they spend 3 cards for this, and they take 2 from our hand and get a body. Not sure what you take here. I think, okay, they definitely have a reanimate then. Because you wouldn't take the Tarfire if you didn't have a reanimate there, I don't think. Yeah, so this comes in. We're probably going to lose the Ponder, but it could be the Brainstorm because we have a lot of stuff that I'm not really a big fan of here that I wouldn't mind shuffling away. So the Brainstorm probably goes here. Yeah, there it is. There's Wasteland. They can Wasteland us if they want to. Sure. Mishra's Bauble. Let's Ponder here. I don't think we really want any of these. So we're going to go any order and shuffle. A Lightning Bolt. That is something we do want. We want to fire this off now before Orcish Bowmasters become a problem. Okay, there's a Troll on top. So they're going to have their next land drop if they don't have it now. We have 5 cards in our graveyard. That will become 7 next turn and we can start beating down with our Mongoose. A little bit of tension between the Mongoose and the Murktide, but I think that's fine. So there's the Troll that we know about. Getting an Underground Sea. That's going to unlock their blue spells. So this could be things like Daze. Sure, we'll take some damage here. We want to play this one out first. Hit this. I'm going to cast a Brainstorm in response. We're not going to cast anything and give them an opportunity to Daze here. We're going to go to combat, and then in combat we'll shoot the Grief down. Actually, we don't need to do that because I've used their mana here. So let's do this. Turn our guy into a 3/3. And sail in for 3 beautiful points of damage. Nimble Mongoose. What a card. So now we could make the Murktide, which I think is probably worth doing. 1, 2, 3. I want to leave the Wasteland in there, I think. So if we get rid of the instants and sorceries to make our creature big, and then we just get rid of a land. We leave in the Bauble because that's one of the harder types for us to find. But we've already got a land that we can put in, but we kind of want to keep the Wasteland in there. Okay, just a straight up snuff out, sure. Our opponent's on 6. They're going to need to deploy a threat soon, otherwise this Nimble Mongoose is going to eat away at them. We have reduced... Okay. I think we will do some brainstorming here. So we have Pyroblast, which is pretty useful. A Ponder, a Stifle. I like all of these cards, to be honest. Although I don't think we necessarily... Do we need the Stifle right now? And what are we worried about from Stifle? Sure, so we can put that one back and a land, I think. I've got 4 cards in graveyards. Crack this. We'll go and get Volcanic, I think, here. Cast a Ponder. Dragon's Rage Channeler is pretty good. Stifle might be useful later on. So what types do we have? We've got Creature, Instant, Artifact, Land. So yeah, this guy's going to be big. So we put the Stifle and the Brainstorm on top. And then we draw. We cast this now. If this gets counterspelled, it makes our Mongoose a 3/3. Peck away for 1. A Fatal Push, sure. Okay, so now we have a 3/3. We have a Brainstorm on top of our library. Not fetching around Stifle there, that's a bold play. We don't need to fire off this Brainstorm now. We can do it in response to the Fled Strand and just shut them off with blue mana. So I think we just want the Brainstorm and the Wasteland on top. We definitely want to keep the Pyroblast here. It's just a case of what we want next. So I think we want the Wasteland and then the Brainstorm. And then we will Stifle this. Stop our opponent getting any access to blue mana. Our opponent's on 1. So now if they have another fetch, they can't access blue mana. Alright. That is the match. That was a classic tempoing. And this is why I like Rug Delver at the moment. I feel it's pretty good into the scam decks for the most part. The one time that I don't like it into the scam decks is where they get to have the turn 1 or like turn 2 troll. And if we can't answer that, then it becomes a little bit problematic. You can run Dismember to kill it. We are running the Vapor Snag. But again, we've got counter spells to try and deal with it that way. We've got the Stifles to try and limit their mana a little bit where possible. But yeah, pretty convincing 2-0 against arguably the best deck in the format right now. Okay, I'll see you in round 2. Alright, we're on the play for round 2. What does our hand achieve here? We can make a turn 1 Dragon's Rage Channeler, but we could get Wasteland into the dirt pretty quickly. This is a tough call. We are on the play, so we'd have to try and draw something. But we do have some useful tools in the Stifle, the Vapor Snag. Like, we can cast a lot of our hand. I think we're going to give it a whirl. If they just stop our Dragon's Rage Channeler and then Wasteland us, then sure, we lose this game probably. But they shouldn't be Wastelanding us when we have a threat in play. So if this can stick, then I feel we're going to be in a safer spot. And then we can use our spells to surveil into more land. And then drop this Tarmogoyf in a couple of turns. Or we could just get lucky and draw the land. It's certainly a possibility. A Verdant Catacombs. Nothing interesting. Look at that. Beautiful. Right, we go to tax. Just the one. In this turn, we will go and get ourselves a Tropical Island. And jam down a Nimble Mongoose. Because we don't have any counter spells right now, I'm more inclined to stifle their fetch land. So they can't get any play. They didn't play anything off 1 mana, so I don't think they're going to play anything if we hit one of these. So this will hopefully deny them something like a... Oh, I'd very much like to have this on top of my library, I think. I'd very much like to have a turn away of our opponent not playing a Bowmasters, which is what this Stifle is trying to accomplish. So our opponent is now cracking their other Catacombs. They might just be cracking around a Daze, or they might have something. A Delighted Halfling, sure. We will bolt this and Brainstorm. I think we Brainstorm first. We don't have to worry about Daze here. So let's cast this Brainstorm. Try and improve the size of our creatures. Let's go into the graveyard. So Artifact, Land, Instant. So we're still going to be 1 shy here. We could mill a Tarmogoyf here if we want to. So we could put the Wasteland on top. I think I would like the Wasteland. Although, do we want this second Scalding Tarn? I don't think we need the second Scalding Tarn. So if we put the Wasteland on top. No, if we put the Tarn and the Goyf, and then we mill them both with Mishra's Bauble and the Lightning Bolt, that seems fine. So we'll do this. We will put this into our graveyard. We'll Lightning Bolt this. Put this land into our graveyard. Now we're pod racing. Oh, they have a Force of Will for this. This makes both of our creatures 3/3s. Okay, so they have got a land over there. But we're bashing for 6 here. I don't think they're going to sacrifice their Delight Halfling considering they Force of Will pitching a Leovold. So we're looking at... I'm not sure entirely. This could just be like the sort of bug mid-rangey type decks. We'll see. It's going to be an Uro. A Teferi, sure. Are they going to have to bounce the Channeler? Okay, so we can tap the Teferi here. That switches our Daze back on. And I think we just make this massive Tarmogoyf here. A cheeky 5/6. We've got a Daze to protect and our opponent's mana's been constricted. God, this takes me back. Alright, there's the Windswept Teeth we knew about. Another Delighted Halfling. That's not what we're countering here. Let's see what we can draw here. Another Daze, that's interesting. I think we play this first. And we will Vapor Snag this Delighted Halfling. And we serve with some creatures. So now they can't play an Endurance, so by doing that we got to at least second guess that. Sure. So now the Delighted Halfling goes under the bus. They take 3. Any 2 of my creatures will be lethal. If they crack this fetch land, just the Tarmogoyf is lethal. We have double Daze backup. Alright, a classic tempoing. Let's go to sideboarding. So we basically saw some bug cards. So like bug legendary type stuff. They seem to have enough basics to play on underneath the Wasteland, so I don't think that's where we want to be. They probably have some amount of Uros in their deck as well. The Pyroblast is going to be something we're going to be reaching for, I think, in this game. The question is, do we want the Veil of Summers? Do we want the Surgicals? I think we can bring in 1 Surgical to deal with the Uro, but I don't think we want to draw multiples. I also like casting the Fire here because I suspect they're going to have the 1 ring as a thing we need to worry about. So, some combination of Daze and Force of Will are not going to be good here. I think Daze is probably the worst of those cards, right? So we get rid of all of these Dazes, and then we get rid of 1 of the Forces. So we can still play that game a little bit. Do we think they're going to be a Green Sun Zenith deck? Seems quite likely. Maybe we would want this Cage over this Force. Maybe that's okay. But I don't want to have too many do-nothing cards like the Pyroblast is situational, Circle Extraction and Grafdigger's Cage are also situational. So maybe we're better off just having this Force and just going a bit hard with the tempo plan. I like the Spell Pierce here still. Alright, let's try like this. What our opening hand do here? We have a threat that's hard to answer and then we can kind of snowball into other stuff. So I'm going to keep this one. Verdant Catacombs from our opponent. Fetching around Stifle, and they have a Halfling. Sure. We can't actually kill this Halfling. So we're going to go and get ourselves a Tropical Island and deploy the Mongoose. If they play something like a Teferi, we can always Pyroblast it on our turn, if that's a thing that's going to be happening. I don't think our opponent's going to be a Daze deck. They could be somewhere in the Allurin ballpark. Okay, this looks like an Uro to me. Yeah, there it is. So we can get rid of this with a Pyroblast later on. But they are... So this is why Daze are so bad. They just go above the curve. So they play 2 things that jump them above the curve. And now they're fetching around Stifle. They might have a play here like a Ponder or something as well. A Brainstorm, sure. I have to imagine they drew either the land to get them to Tundra or the Brainstorm off of that Uro. Okay. So now what is our plan? I think we are attacking with our 1/1, which isn't very exciting. But it's where we have... And then I think we're probably going to cast a Ponder. I think we're going to crack this Misty Rainforest first so that we can set up a Ponder with 3 cards instead of being forced to fetch. Ponder, Stifle, no, that's any good for us right now, is it? A Channeler. So this is an interesting one. I'm kind of a little bit worried about what could come out of our opponent this turn. So I kind of want to keep this Pyroblast up, so I'm going to do that. Maybe that's a bit cautious, but they've been ramping out so effectively. Right, so this is uncounterable. It's going to be a Minsk and Boo, I believe. So we can Stifle this trigger if we want to. How useful is that going to be for us? Or do we stifle the put counters on? Interesting. Interesting. How are we supposed to counter this? I think so. Yeah, so we don't have a Pyroblast to like nail something like a Narset or an Uro. So we've got 4 card types in our graveyard. We would like some more card types, but I don't know if we're going to be able to get them here. We can cast into the fire. That will get us on 5 cards. That doesn't quite do it, does it? Yeah, this is a little awkward. We have to go attacks here. Attack the Minsc and Boo. I think our opponent is probably looking at winning this game right now. But let's put some threats down and see what we can do. Alright, so they're not doing anything here. Let's just jam this Tarmogoyf and call it a day. So they're going to be able to get a 4/4 Minsc and Boo here, which could be annoying. We do have a 4/5 though, so that's a decent size. Okay, so we've got a fetch land that we can put into our graveyard. That will get us up to 5 cards. And then we have 2 more cards that we can cast. That will get us up to 7 cards. But obviously, Pyroblast can target anything, but it won't do anything right now. So we have... what is the plan here? I think we can... Cast into the fire was not going to help us out here. If they double block here, they can kill our Tarmogoyf. And that's going to be a real pain for us. How are we supposed to get Delirium here? We got instant, so we need a creature in the graveyard. We can't put our own mongooses in. If we ping off with Cast into the Fire here, it doesn't really do anything, but it's one of the only ways we can surveil to try and get Delirium. Is that worth doing though? I don't think it is, which is awkward. So we can attack with this, they can double block, we'll eat the Minsc and Boo here. I guess we could maybe surveil into something to make this bigger. We start out with this land. Problem is, things get a lot worse from us from here. Are we surveilling? Oh, this is so bad. Sure. Do not like this play. But we need to try and get some damage in on this Minsc and Boo. A Brainstorm. That doesn't do it here, does it? But this is a very good card, so I think we do put this on top still. And then I think we're in a really awkward spot here. We can jam with this. It will trade with both of these, but this is obviously like not full permanent at this point. Oh, do not like this. Very unhappy with this play. Alright, we're going to see something else here. An Endurance. Oh, that's really bad for us. That's game-breakingly bad for us. Okay, just going to shrink our Goyf to a 3/4 and just allow them an easy block with the Endurance here. We could try and surveil something in, but we know we've got we know what we've got on top of our library is a Brainstorm though. So we could shuffle and then surveil. I think we're just going to let these guys bounce off each other, and then we're going to get absolutely ruined by this Minsc and Boo. Yep. Tough times. So now the Minsc and Boo is going to be massive, and we're going to be in trouble. They might just... okay, I thought they might potentially just throw something at this. Right, so we have a 7/7 coming in our face. That's going to be a lot of damage. Okay. Another Delighted Halfling, sure. Okay, we need this Brainstorm to do some work. It's got to be a good one. A Pyroblast, that can go into the graveyard. We've already got one in hand. These cards are not particularly helpful. So I think we put out a Tarn and it's a Pyroblast. Alternatively, we could get this Mongoose into the graveyard now. So that would give us creature, instant land. We're not going to be able to materialize a sorcery here, are we? Okay, so we get rid of the Tarn and Pyroblast. Oh, this Wasteland's no good either. I think that's got to go. So I think we need a Volcanic here. And we deploy this Mongoose. If they counterspell this, at least it gives us a creature in the graveyard. Okay. I guess we just pass here because we can't do anything here. I don't think attacking with this Goyf is going to help us out right now. I'm pretty sure we're just going to have to go to game 3 and try and win on the play. Because this is pretty awkward. They got another thing here. A Leyline Binding. Sure. So we can stifle this and get Surveil off. Okay. That's grown our Tarmogoyf. Unfortunately, they do still have this Minscant boost. They can just keep going upstairs with it. And I'm not really sure how we're supposed to beat that. Okay, they just got the 7/7 here. So they can just fire this at us if they don't think we have a Stifle. I think we just take it and try and bluff the Stifle. Because if we block and lose a bunch of our board here, then we're not winning the game. Just got to play mind games with our opponent. Yeah, that's us done. Okay. On the play for game 3, we can do things a little bit differently. I don't think this is actually going to be a deck where we want any sort of Grafdigger's Cage thing, so I'm okay with that. The Life from Loam is kind of a little bit more tempting on the play, as are Dazes and Force of Wills. The cast into the fire, I don't think is where we want to be here. They still might have Ring as the issue, but I think we're better off trying to counterspell that and just having more cards that are universally good. So that's kind of a plan there. The Pyroblast felt pretty awkward considering we got bodied by the things that were not Pyroblastable. So if we strip those out, and then we're probably looking at some number of Dazes and Force of Wills coming out here. Daze on the play is very strong, but I think we still need Force of Wills as an option. So we're going to try for this. And we're just going back to a pretty aggressive configuration, because if this game goes past like 5 or 6 turns, the game is going to be in our opponent's favour. So we need to try and mitigate that. Alright, our opening hand doesn't play Magic, so we have to ship it. This hand is very poor. I don't know if we can... Okay, I think we have to go to 5 here. Oh no, no mana sources. Okay, we're going to 4. Still no mana sources. Yuck, we're going to 3. I think we're going to lose this one. Okay, so we keep, we want a mana source, we want to ponder. So we have to think, how are we going to win this game on the resources we're at? Maybe we just have to cheese our opponent and draw out. So maybe we're actually keeping Stifle and these things. That doesn't feel right. We're not keeping the Pyroblast. That's a given. We're not keeping the Vapor Snag. So 2 of these cards have got to go back. So we could keep the Ponder, which is the smart and correct thing to do, to be honest. So I think we probably will do that. And maybe get rid of the Stifle here. And the Wasteland. Yeah, this is pretty bad. Maybe I should have kept that one with just Brainstorm, Daze and Murktide. But it just felt so anemic in this sort of matchup. Our opponent might be thinking about Force of Willing this, which I think is a pretty reasonable play. Okay, so I guess we put Brainstorm on the bottom, then the Stifle, then the Volk. Not a great situation to be in. They're going to show us the Halfling again. We at least have an answer for it. There it is. I can play this out. We can line and bolt this away. The reason we put Brainstorm at the bottom is because we had these other things that we can do stuff with, and I'd like to get through our cards off the Ponder before we start brainstorming. I don't think we need to brainstorm right now. I think we can hold. The more cards we have, the better this brainstorm's going to be, and I don't really want to go away from using this Stifle as an option. Okay, Tarmogoyf. I'm okay to brainstorm now, I think. So they're cracking a Verdant Catacombs. We're not going to stifle this one, we're going to stifle the next one, because they'll activate this fetch knowing that they've got this land here. This is going to be a Bowmasters, isn't it? And that's going to be pretty bad for us. Okay. Like, we can stifle these triggers, but that's not really going to help us with the situation we're in. Just a bunch of lands, is it? Sure. So they're going to get some Bowmasters going on. Yep, this is pretty bad for us, truth be told. We at least get to drop a Tarmogoyf. But we were on a mull to 3 here. So this is always going to be an uphill struggle. Just wanted a hand with a turn 1 threat. And now we've ended up here. Yep, so they might plow our guy here. Yep, that's pretty bad. So they've got a 4-turn clock here. And we've got nothing. The Vapor Snag can deal with the Orcish Army token relatively well. But we're still going to be in a bit of a bind here. So we're going to see. An Emissary. Sure. So this is a thing that's going to mess with any of our cantrips, but our cantrips are already being messed with in a way that is worse for us, I think. We have a Wasteland. That's not very exciting here. We can't take our opponent off of blue. We can't take our opponent off of green. We can't take our opponent... We can take our opponent off of black. I think that's probably okay here. Yep, they get to draw a card. We could stifle that, but our opponent's got a whole grip full of cards and we're losing to what's on the board. We just need to buy ourselves a bit more time. But I think this game is over. So we're going to lose access to green mana here. So I think we need to stifle this so that we can survive to cast something like a Tarmogoyf, which could stabilize on this board because it'll be bigger than their creatures. It's a Fairy Time Raveler. Okay, so they should just +1 this and have a bounce saved up. Yep, that's what they're doing. Yep, so we're going to take a big hit here for 8, going down to 6, and then we're dead. GG's. Yep, that was pretty unfortunate. The mulligan was pretty gross. Like, maybe we could have kept that Brainstorm hand, but that hand was very slow. I think we really need to have early pressure going on. Like, game 1 was just like a classic tempoing and we were in a great spot. Game 2, we had some things that didn't line up well. Like, we had our Pyroblast that just didn't really feel like a good option. So, yeah, we are 1-1 now. I'll see you in round 3. Right, welcome to round 3. We're on the play. We have some lightning bolts. We don't really have a threat, but we do have a Brainstorm that can go find them. We're against a Yorion deck. Does that change anything? I think it's probably more likely to be like an Up the Beanstalk style Yorion deck here. So maybe we want to get in there quickly with a threat. But I think we can keep this because it's got a lot of useful tools to work with. Our opponent's mulligan to 6 cards so far. Start out with a Scalding Tarn. We don't want to crack this and expose ourselves to Wasteland. I'm not expecting to see Stifle out of a Yorion deck. A Prismatic Vista. Over to us. We can fire off a Brainstorm if we so wish. We can fire this off of a Tropical Island. So we have a threat. We have a second Daze, which is quite nice here. We don't need this Scalding Tarn. Do we need a second Scalding Tarn? I don't think so. Sorry, a second fetch land. Let's just put this one back. Let's crack this. Get ourselves a Volcanic. Deploy the Channeler. Okay, so we've got 2 types at the moment in the graveyard. We're going to see an end of turn Swords to Plowshares here. No, okay. Interesting. We're going to see something like Bowmasters here, potentially. We do have that covered with the Daze, in theory. We would not like our Dragon's Rage Channeler to eat it here. We kind of want to keep our threat in play. So I will defend this. Solitude. Okay, that's not the thing we get to defend here, really. Daze is not going to be good enough to stop that. But we do have a follow-up threat. This could be like the black and white Taxes deck. So let's just jam down a Tarmogoyf. We got triple Daze, so any opportunities to fire these off and get some value I'll take. Nothing in our end step. Interesting. Caracas. We don't care about that one too much. Athalia. They won't be able to follow this up with anything. Sure, that's fine. So we can just lightning bolt this straight away. They'll do the Caracas. We could Tarfire, and that's going to be even better for us, isn't it? Sure, let's just Tarfire this. Let's get out of the way. They'll bounce it with the Caracas. So we're just pushing damage here. Chunks of 4 are quite large, so that's alright. The other option there was to attack and see if they did the bounce trick themselves. Alright, so there's Athalia. His Daze is looking a bit awkward in the face of Athalia. A Mother of Runes, sure. Okay, I think we want to attack here. So I don't think they're blocking us here. We will hit this Mother of Runes rather than Athalia, I would say. The other option there was to play just another Tarmogoyf, but I think getting roadblocked by Mother of Runes is going to be really awkward and gives them the chance to slow the game down and maybe deploy another one. A Stoneforge Mystic. Okay. What's this going to go for? Cauldron Complete, sure. So we'll be removing this Stoneforge Mystic so they can't put that into play and continue bashing. I would love to draw some more mana. A Flicker Wisp. Okay. They're going to blink their Stoneforge and get themselves a Batterskull as well. That would seem likely to me. Or are they going to remove our Tarmogoyf and push 2 damage? I don't think that's really that useful. Yep, so they're going to go get themselves another equipment. These Dazes are really rotting away in our hand right now. Right, so Stoneforge Mystic trigger. What is this going to find? Anumazawa's Jitte. How are we supposed to win this game? Let's see if we can push some damage with the Tarmogoyf. Oh. They've lost connection to the game. Oh. They've just completely lost connection to the entire match. Alright, I guess we win. Yeah, I don't think we're winning this game, to be honest. Let's see if we've got anything. A Vapor Snag is pretty helpful, actually, here. But, yeah, I think that was probably going against us. But I guess we'll take it. We are 2-1 after a very quick round there. All right, welcome to round 4. This is our opening hand against a Yorion deck. Not filling me with a lot of joy, but I think we can brainstorm our way out of it because we're on the play. I think on the draw, I'd be more inclined to mulligan this, because we kind of have to run the risk of Bowmasters a little bit. There's a Scalding Tarn and we'll pass. Misty Rainforest. We do have a Force of Will for emergencies. I think we will start with this Trop and Brainstorm. Okay, some things. Then we'll put back 2 Misties here. Well, if we put back the second Misty, I think that's still fine, isn't it? Yeah, let's put back the second Misty. We can always brainstorm into some more stuff if we need to. If we have to Tarfire, then we'll lose the Misties on top. We can decide if we want the third land or not. Right, they're cracking the Misty for a drop. Carpet of Flowers. Okay, so probably some sort of Beseech the Mirror deck here. Okay, so going to the second main phase, I get 1 blue mana here. Or, well, mana of whatever they want. A Brainstorm, sure. So I'm definitely getting combo deck vibes from our opponent here. Which is interesting, considering they're a Yorion deck. Right. So we decided to draw the third land here. This way we can hold up the Tarfire. So we have a choice. We can either hold up the Tarfire, hold up a Brainstorm, or we can Wasteland them. And we are definitely cracking this. And we have to make the decision now what we're going to do with our turn. Are we holding up Tarfire or are we going to Wasteland them? I think we probably want to Wasteland them here. They are getting an additional mana from our Volk, which is certainly irritating, but it is what it is. So they got the Carpet Flowers popping off here. 2 green mana. Okay. Main deck Carpet of Flowers is a very bold thing to have in your deck. An Uro. That's fine. Okay, so we probably are just some sort of like slow Yorion grindy deck here. The Carpet of Flowers just kind of threw me a little bit. Okay, so they're cracking this Flooded Strand now. We're going to see a Stifle on their Uro here. No, we're not. Okay. So they're cracking this land. So we've got 2 mana up to work with here. A Leyline Binding. I would like to counterspell this and keep our threat in play here. Alright, they have a Force of Will of their own. Alright, this is going pretty badly for us. Right? A Tarmogoyf. That's not unwelcome here, is it? Jam it and keep going. So they can make an Uro this turn, which is a bit of an issue for us. I think we might have to Brainstorm in response to an Uro being cast, because we're not beating Uro at the end of the day. Let's crack this, go and get ourselves a red source, I think. Okay, so we found an answer to it, so that's not the end of the world. And we can deploy Mongoose, Channeler, and Vapor Snag next turn. So I think we put this on top. Put this on top. Actually, no. If we put the... Tarfire does represent a lot of damage here. But if we Vapor Snag milling off the Tarfire, that's also pretty good. Alright. Uro into play. Never a position you really want your opponent to be in, but here we are. Zagoth Triome. Is that the bug one? Sure. Feels like we're just going to get up the beanstalk to lock this this tournament. We'll see. Right, let's play a Dragon's Rage Channeler. Let's play a Nimble Mongoose. Vapor Snag this. Surveil this into our graveyard. Grow our guy. And attack. Channeler is still only a 1-1. We've got instant, tribal, and land at the moment. But our opponent's got a whole lot of mana. We need to hope nothing too scary comes out. A Ponder first. They chose not to shuffle, which is pretty terrible news for us. So the Uro is going to come and gain some more life. Yep. Little Song and Dance. This will grow our Tarmogoyf as well to a 5/6. The One Ring. Okay, so we're not attacking our opponent this turn. Great. Yeah, I think this game is over now. Our opponent's just so far ahead. These sorts of decks are designed to prey on Delver type strategies, really, because they just go over the top so well. Alright, let's cast a Ponder. Mill away that Misty. Daze, Ponder, Scalding Tarn. We don't really want these, so I think we can get any order and shuffle. Murktide. That's actually a pretty good one here. Question is, what do we? How much do we want to shred our? I think we just have to throw this one out here. So we get rid of instants. 4. I kind of want to keep this sorcerer in, so maybe we're just going to trim the lands here. Not the largest Murktide we can make, but it means we still have Delirium on our guy. Alright. No point attacking here because our opponent can't be damaged. Obviously the channeler has to attack. That's fine. We've got 6 cards in our graveyard, so any spell will give us Threshold from Mongoose, but we're probably not going to be able to do much about that. In terms of attacking, because our opponent's probably going to make an Uro this turn. There's a Brainstorm. Yeah, this main deck Carpet Flowers has really jammed us up. It's just given them so much ability to pull ahead, which is awkward. There's definitely going to be games where our opponent has a Carpet Flowers that does nothing in their hand. Unfortunately, this is not one of them. Probably a pretty safe choice to make, really, in a high-level event like this where you expect a high density of blue decks. They chose not to shuffle off the Ponder. Uh-oh. Here comes Uro again. If we can get one of these enchantments, if we can get this, like, obviously we don't have any way to put these enchantments in the bin, which is the problem. But if we could have countered that one earlier, the binding, then we would have had a Tarmogoyf that can beat up on an Uro. As it stands, I think we're just going to get ruined over the next few turns. Probably play 1 or 2 more turns and then scoop it up. Comet, Stellar Pup. Sure. They rolled a 6. Okay. They rolled a 3, so they get back their it's Ponder, isn't it? Yeah. And then they make some hasty squirrels. I don't think these squirrels are attacking. Alright. We're going to have a turn, and we're probably going to concede the game at some point during this turn, I would imagine. So this does give us Threshold here, but that doesn't really do anything. We can bash through at the Comet. Then we'll keep this in hand for Brainstorm. This goes at Comet. But yeah, we're just too far behind here. I don't think it's worth spending my time playing this game when we can go to sideboarding. Alright. So Casting of the Fire is looking pretty reasonable here, as does the Null Rod. The Pyroblast also looking nice, and some number of surgical extractions. Probably not all 3, but 1 or 2. Daze is pretty bad in this matchup. I don't think we want those. I think the Stifles and stuff have some reasonable utility here. Maybe we'll trim on some of these forces. Do we want 2 forces and only 1 surgical? I think that's probably better. We could try and Life from Loam our opponent out and set up a Wasteland lock. That's not something I'm opposed to. I think the Spell Pierce is probably not... Well, it's kind of okay if they're trying to resolve comets and things, actually. Maybe we'll drop a Bauble because we're boarding in the Null Rod. Now, our opponent probably has some sort of Wasteland lock in their deck as well, because that's what 5-colour decks get to do these days. Okay, this hand is perfectly keepable. Scalding Tarn. Go and get ourselves a Volcanic Island. Deploy the Dragon's Rage Channeler. And then we can Mishra's Bauble. So we get to scry here. I think we just want to put stuff in our graveyard and get our guy big here. Let's draw a card now in case we find a counter spell and need it. Okay, a 4th Eolingus. That's good to know about. That's something that can definitely catch us off guard if we're not careful. Alright. So we have 3 types, and we can put the 4th type in next turn with this Ponder. And they're just playing a common to play tap land. That's okay with me. Ponder going. I will put this on top of my library. Put the Scalding Tarn, then the Murktide, then the Wasteland. Draw the Wasteland. Wasteland our opponent's coming to play tap land. And start bashing. This is how we have to win the game, is just keep our opponent off of useful stuff. There's a Tundra there. He's just plowing our guy. Sure. I can make a 5/5 Murktide. Or I could try and develop my mana a little bit more. Okay, we're going to shuffle that fetch hand off the top of our library. I'm going to go and get a Volcanic here. I think we're going to make a Murktide. So get rid of the Lightning Bolt and the Ponder. We get rid of land, and then one of these has to go. Because we have Life from the Loam, I think I'm more inclined to take this Bauble. Because if we can draw the Life from the Loam and just shut our opponent's mana down, then we can win the game. Up the Beanstalk. Yep. Brave New World are going up the Beanstalk. I think we will Brainstorm here. A Channeler and a Stifle. I like both of these. I don't think we need these 2 lands, so we'll put these away. We'll drop this one. We'll go to attacks. We'll drop this Channeler. And then we'll pass. Holding up Stifle or Lightning Bolt. Another land from our opponent. A Leyline Binding. Sure, we'll crack this Misty Rainforest. I think we want a Volk here. So they can get their card. They can get their Leyline, but then we're going to stifle this trigger. Surveil off here. I don't want this Brainstorm. Sure, we'll take the Brainstorm. Does Stifle work? It does. Excellent. And then a Ponder from our opponent. So hopefully we can deploy some more damage this turn. We can grow our Channeler, ideally. So I think we start off with the Brainstorm here. Pyroblast is interesting, but is that where we want to be right now? I think the things we're worried about are non-blue cards, so we're going to put this into the graveyard. Tarmogoyf, Valley. Okay, so if we put back the Bolt and the Ponder, we can jam this Valley. We can cast a Tarmogoyf. If this gets countered, then they will give us Delirium. Right, so we'll take away their white source because that's their removal colour. And then we'll just give them a thorough beating with these guys. And we have lethal next turn. We can also Ponder into the Lightning Bolt if we need a bit more damage. Carpet of Flowers. Alright, so our opponent's going to have a lot of mana this turn. Our Wasteland not really cutting them off of as much as we'd like to though. This is all one colour mana though. It's all blue. Okay, that's not a removal colour. Okay, so they're cycling their Lorien Revealed. This will give them a Tundra, so this accesses their removal colour mana. The One Ring. Okay. It's not what we want. So I'm going to cast this Ponder. We know there's a Lightning Bolt that we want on top of our library, so we're going to put that on top of our library. The 3 damage might be enough. I think one's Vapor Snag. Like, wastelanding our opponent here doesn't feel great though. But I think we'll put the Vapor Snag and the Bolt, then take the Valley. So we keep hitting our opponent's white sources. Now we have to decide if we want to play out this Tarmogoyf. I don't think we do, because our opponent could access a load of white mana from the carpet and then wrath us. They're not tapping with their ring here. Okay, this is swing an end of turn. Okay, sure. So we have a Lightning Bolt on top. So our opponent is on effectively 2. They draw more cards with the ring. Okay, so they're trying to see what they want to cast before activating their ring here. It's sensible. If they tap out for something like a 4th Theolingus, that's not really an issue for us. Is this going to be the Supreme Verdict that we played around? A Ponder first. Okay. But they've added the 3 white, which means they probably have the Supreme Verdict in their deck, and that's what they're trying to draw to. That's what I would assume here. They find it? They chose not to shuffle. They could just be doing a 4th Theolingus to get a load of blockers. Obviously they can't block the Murktide here though. A Solitude. So they've exiled the 4th Theolingus to do this. Okay. Sure. So we're going to lose our Murktide. We still have lethal damage. They've got to whittle away our other creatures still. We got another 4th Theolingus here. Is that their plan? Brainstorm first, sure. I think you probably want to do that before you do your Solitude, so you just have most information possible. But if they kill our Tarmogoyf with a... Well, they're probably not going to kill our creatures. They're going to exile them, so it's unlikely to get a creature in the bin for this Dragon's Rage Channeler. This could just be a mini 4th Theolingus. Fire. Okay. So we now have a Tarmogoyf and a Plough, sure. So if we'd have played the Tarmogoyf, we would have been able to beat this. But we would have lost to a Supreme Verdict. We will play our Tarmogoyf. Opponent's going to take 2 from this ring. We want to make sure that this does the damage for us. Let's bolt them. And see if that's enough. They're going to tap the 1 ring here to try and draw into a Force of Will. Now they're going to Brainstorm to try and draw into Force of Will. Unfortunately, the carpet means they're going to have some mana left over if they do manage to stop this. Alright, we got there. Game 3. I like the keeping their mana at bay plan. That feels like a winner to me. I don't think we want any Veil of Summers or anything. Do we want additional Force of Wills on the draw? I don't think so. Force of Will does stop the ring, which is really important, but we do have the Casting the Fire and the Null Rod for that. So I'm just going to resubmit like this. The Veils are basically there for like scam style decks rather than these sort of control decks. Alright, we have a threat. We have a lot of lands though. But we do have a turn 1 threat, which is kind of one of the essentials that we need in opener. So I will keep this. If we can find a blue card to go with our Force of Will, that'd be nice. We did find a blue card to go with our Force of Will. Understood. So I think we need to find a Brainstorm or something here though, so that we can at least get some replacements for all these lands in our hands. There's a Tundra. There's a Brainstorm. I'm not going to aggressively Force of Will this. I think we're on Force of Willing removal and just trying to get there with the Dragon's Rage Channeler. Depending on what we draw, we might be inclined to lightning bolt our opponent's face. Just to get the Surveil off. Another Dragon's Rage Channeler. Okay. Let's play this, see if it gets counterspelled or not. I'll crack this for Volcanic. We will lightning bolt our opponent. Getting some Surveil triggers. Pyroblast is an instant. I quite like the Pyroblast though. No, we just need to feed our guys as much as possible here. Tarmogoyf is a big beater. That is the creature. I think we put this on top of our library. It's just a large guy. Right, so they're shuffling away the cards that brainstormed on top last turn. Scalding Tarn. We're going to see up the Beanstalk this turn. Or we've got a Carpet of Flowers. They love this Carpet of Flowers, don't they? I think we're supposed to fight over this one. It's just too much mana. I think we do have to leave his Tarmogoyf on top. This is also an enchantment to grow our Tarmogoyf potentially. And we're going to get Pyroblasted here. Feels like we are. Yeah, sure. Alright, I think our opponent is heavily favoured right now. So they get their second main, they get 3 mana to work with. Yeah, just the Carpet Flowers doing us in all the time. So red, and white. Okay, so they're just going to fire both of our creatures away. Yuck. This is why we kept a threat on top. If they got a plow for this, that would make me very sad. They did not have a plow for it, okay. But they are gaining a lot of mana returns. They're up to 6, potentially 7 mana this turn if they've got another land in hand. Triple green. I think we might be seeing an Uro this turn. There's the front half. Are they going to be able to do the back half as well? They are. Okay. I think we are game over here. Blue, blue, green, green. And they get a Wasteland for good measure. Sure. Yep. It's going to be a tough one. We do have Pyroblast, which can kill an Uro. But this is going to draw them a card. It's going to gain some life. And if we answer it, then we're still going to be a little bit behind. There is a Pyroblast in our graveyard, which is a bit unfortunate. But yeah, these sorts of Uro decks are designed to beat up on us, unfortunately. It was a shame we got hit by the carpet in game 1. Surgical Extraction. Very funny deck. Very, very funny. Alright, we passed a turn. That was a turn too late. Our opponent can just happily swing with this Uro. And the game is basically over, I think. If we can find a Pyroblast in the next turn or two, then maybe. But our opponent is now so far ahead. They can dumpster us with a massive 4th Eolingus at some point as well. They're just gaining a whole bunch of resources here. Up the Beanstalk. Yep. More card advantage. Yeah, I was kind of hoping to see a lot more of the sort of stormy combo style decks today. Rather than... Because, you know, we're a tempo deck. We have really good tools for beating them, including Stifle. Whereas these sorts of matchups, where they just have this grinding inevitability and loads of ways of just jamming us up, is a real problem. Right, we can win these matchups, as you saw. All you need is to sort of keep their mana down, but we basically just immediately lose to Carpet Flowers. And what are you going to see here? This is a hard cast Solitude. Sure. So we're going to lose our Tarmogoyf here. And I think we're probably going to draw a card, then concede the game. And, you know, this is a 9-round tournament. I'd rather not waste my energy on this game that's over. We can no longer top 8 if we lose this one anyway. But we can keep playing, get some more content out there, and enjoy playing a bit Legacy. A Spell Pierce. Sure, we are done. Yeah, so we just got absolutely handled by this Up the Beanstalk deck. I think the big thing that got us both times that we lost was the Carpet Flowers. We were very good at constricting our opponent's mana in the second game, but Carpet Flowers just undoes a decent chunk of what our deck's trying to do. Because we are more on the tempo side with our Stifles and Wastelands, this is just pretty backbreaking for us. Alright, we are 2-2, sadly. I'll see you in round 5. We're on the play once again, which is something that's been going for us this whole league, which is nice. Our opening hand has a threat into some spells. We're going to give this a go. Another Yorion. This is probably going to go badly for us. Not a great matchup, but we do have the tools. We've got Stifle Wasteland to be getting on with here, so got to believe, right? Once we play the Mongoose, though, our opponent will probably know that we have Stifle in our deck, because those two are sort of best friends for a very long time. Right, so we need a Trop here. Play the Goose. Pass the turn. We do have Force of Will available if we need it. Right, so playing a Rainforest and cracking it here. I might just be to play around Stifle. They might have something like a ponder here. They're just playing around Stifle. I think we want to ponder here. I don't mind the second land, to be honest. So we'll have that on top. We'll play this and hold up Stifle. And see what we can do. Okay, no cycling at our opponent's end step. That's interesting. Played a Flooded Strand, but they didn't crack it. Sure. So now that we've drawn a second ponder, we can crack this. And I think we're probably more likely to want red mana afterwards. So we're going to use our green mana here. Or our green-blue mana to make a ponder. Force of Will, Lightning Bolt, Tarmogoyf. Okay, we'll draw the Tarmogoyf here. We'll play out our Wasteland. And we will attack here. So we've got the Tarmogoyf for next turn. And we can Wasteland something and also Stifle something. Nimble Mongoose needs a little bit of help to be a good clock, but we're not a million miles away. We've got 4 cards. We can Wasteland ourselves if we get really desperate, but I don't think that's the thing we want to do. So we've got 2 fetch lands, facing down a potential Stifle. Let's give the old Stifle treatment here. So cracking response. What have they got here? Another basic island. A counter spell. Interesting. They're really into having that mana. I think I'm going to say no to this. This also fills up our graveyard for Nimble Mongoose. Right, they got Force of Wood as well, pitching Jason Mind Sculptor. They really, really wanted this Flood Strand to resolve. It's probably going to get them a Plains, so they can do some Swords to Plowshares as the game goes on. They've got 3 cards left in hand. I'll play this first. Actually, so we've got 6 cards here. If we ponder first... But we'll be pondering trying to find a blue card is the problem. I think we can ponder into a blue card here. We just wanted to get our clock going. Okay. So we'll draw this. It's not ideal, but it's okay. This means our Nimble Mongoose is thresholded. Swing out here. We can Force of Will to protect ourselves from removal spells. Is there a plow here? There is a plow. This is what we saved this for. We just sort of run down the resources now. Our opponent's got 2 cards in hand, we've got 2 cards in play, but other than that, we are kind of at parity. Now, they do get better as the game goes along, because that's the nature of the control deck. So we are trying to get the game over and done with while we can. So we've got 6 damage here, we've got a Lightning Bolt, which is another 3. Prismatic Ending, sure. Pretty awkward. But we're chipping away with a creature that's very hard for them to answer. A Teferi. Sure. Just can't bounce our Mongoose. So that's nice. God, Mongoose is so good. They're just cantripping with it. Sure. We're drawing here. We knew we were drawing this, didn't we? I think we just get to go to attack our opponent here and try and get this game over and done with. If we get to connect one more time, then we have a Lightning Bolt to finish. We're not going to play this land out in case we get a Brainstorm. We want to do something with that. Right, we have plus head to Ferry, as expected. Go to attacks. Address down. That's interesting. Okay, so if they've got the plow, they can use it on our Mongoose here. So we're going to deploy our Murktide now. Ponder, ponder, Force of Will. Okay, so this just resolved. That's interesting. So we're going to put our opponent to 1 here. That's going to shut off fetch lands for things like Supreme Verdict. So we have a 1/1 Shroud Guide that's lethal, and we have a 3/3 Fly that's also lethal. Alright, so we got the tempo there. Our opponent might just be blue-white control with Yorions. We didn't see anything else there. Interesting. This makes me really want some Pyroblasts. Not convinced Dazes are going to be super helpful. Although if they're sort of playing off curve, it can be useful. I don't think Vapor Snag is where we want to be. We're kind of looking at some sort of blue-white control deck, I think. So we need to squeeze in 2 more cards here. I don't think we want Veils here. We're talking about jamming away a Daze and a Force here. Daze is super awkward, but they're trying to play like larger cards. I do like having the burn spells to finish them off. Alright, we'll try like this. Sure, we got some good threats here. I think we probably lead out on the Mongoose so that we can play Channeler and immediately Ponder on the same turn. So we can be guaranteed to get some value out of the Channeler. Just get a threat down and pass. Right, so they're cracking around Stifle. Okay, so they do have green mana. Oh, Carpet Flowers again. Yep. Okay, so they are a Bant version. Are they going to be playing cantrips here? No. Wasteland is not really going to help us out here. Let's go for Channeler. Let's go for Ponder. Into our graveyard. Daze feels pretty bad against Carpet here, doesn't it? I think we go any order and shuffle. Alright. So our opponent is probably going to have things like Uro and stuff like that in their deck. They're probably going to be a Beanstalk deck. Okay, got red mana as well. Yeah, they managed to conceal what they were quite well in game 1 now. We do have a Wasteland for their red source. Monastery Mentor, you say? Okay. They've got white mana left over, so they're probably going to plow our Channeler here. Okay, they're Prismatic Ending it. Same difference, really. Okay. How are we going to beat this? Because they are now ahead on board. We're just getting beaten by Carpet Flowers over and over again this league. That doesn't really do the things we want. Let's play this out. I think we want to try and Ponder into a burn spell here. Pyroblast is not a burn spell. I think we have to any order. We're just going to lose to this Mentor unless we get to remove it from play in the very near future. Guess we take out the Volk. Got 4 cards. Do we want to Ponder here or do we want to hold up a Stifle? I think we need to Ponder to try and hit the removal spell maybe next turn. Right, so we have the removal spell here. So we'll bury the Trop, take the Tarn and the Bolt. We're not attacking our 1-1 into their big guys. I say big guys, they're just bigger than our guys. But that's enough to scare me at least. Yep. Here comes Carpet, ruining our day. I have so much mana available now. There's an Uro. Yep, that's pretty terrible news. I guess we get to see a little bit more of our opponent's deck before we scoop. But I think we are going to game 3 on this one. Like the Carpet completely invalidates our tempo because they just get to ignore the early game and basically they're just playing on mid to late game super early. Right, to put Uro into hand. Okay, that definitely could have been worse for us. Scalding Tarn. Let's try and Lightning Bolt this Mentor. Okay. So we have 6 cards in our graveyard. Sure, we'll go to attack with our Mongoose. See if we can bait them into blocking here and then we can crack our fetch land. They did not fall for that, sure. So we'll get another Volcanic here. And then I think we want the Tarmogoyf. Happy to Tarmogoyf 4-5. We're going to get an Uro next turn. That's the problem. Maybe we need to get a big Murktide. Let's go for a big Murktide. You can kind of check the Uro for a little bit. But they can just keep sending... They can send the Uro in and let it die, but they'll still be getting cards and life off of it. So it's a pretty horrible situation. Where are all these Beseech the Mirror decks I was promised to play against? Oh well. Yep, so there's triple green. So here we see the Uro. So many cards over there. Yikes. A Brainstorm. I think we need some help here. A Lightning Bolt. Is that help? Doesn't feel like help, does it? We can Stifle the life gain trigger. That's pretty medium, isn't it? 7 this turn. 7 the next turn. That's 14. So if we need to Stifle 2 triggers, I guess we're putting back these 2. And this is how we try and win the game. Let's crack this, get ourselves a Trop. Deploy a Tarmogoyf here. It's not very large, but if they attack with their Uro, then we can Stifle it. Now they have like basically infinite mana this turn. They get 4 off of our carpet, off of our lands from their carpet. So not feeling great about this one. 4 blue mana, so we're going to see some cantrips into something else, I suspect. With Jace the Mind Sculptor. Okay. What would you like to do with Jace the Mind Sculptor? I will Stifle this. We need to keep our 7/7 in play. So now our opponent's got an interesting choice with what they do with their Uro. Because if they attack with it, then we can crash at their Jace with 2 guys. And then Murktide at their face. Alternatively, if we draw a bolt, we might be able to push for a win here. But we'll see. I think they're just going to attack and... yeah. Figured that would be how this would play out. It's going to be a plow. Feels like a plow. Or no, an ending on our Tarmogoyf. Yep. Okay. We can draw a cantrip here. We can maybe grow our Mongoose and do something useful with it. Another array. I really want that life. Force of will. That doesn't really assist us here. We can kill their Jace, but then the Euro continues to burn us. I think we just have to get rid of the Jace here. And then we can stifle the Euro trigger if we want to. It's not great. I think we're just going to be going to game 3. Again, a whole bunch of mana in our opponent's pool. Oh, they don't even need it. Are we stifling this trigger? We effectively pay 1. I don't think we are. I think we have to try and deal with this Euro with Pyroblast or something. And then just rely on our 7/7 to get us there. We can always chump block with our Mongoose if we need to. But this race does not favour us in any way, shape or form. Right, Ponder. I've got no interest in getting in with this Monk token as well, which is curious to me. Unless they just drew the Ponder off of the Euro, which is certainly possible. They shuffled off the Ponder, that's something. Abundant Growth, yeah. Okay, so in the first game we thought they were like a blue-white control deck because they didn't really show us all the things that they're showing us now. So what are they going for here? A Terminus. Do we have to Force of Will Terminus? I think we do. I don't think we win by not having any creatures or our opponent's got all these resources. But they still have an error in play, so... A Misty Rainforest. That doesn't really help us here, does it? Or does it? I guess we can attack with our Mongoose. If they block, we can crack the Rainforest. Or if they don't block, we can also crack the Rainforest. This does give them more mana for the carpet, but they already have a billion mana, so... Removal spell does win in this game. So we can block with our 7/7 on their 6/6. Which is fine. Okay, so we have 10 power in play. Not that I'm expecting it to stay there for very long. I think our opponent's just going to replay an Euro here. 5 green mana. I don't know what you want 5 green mana for, unless it's up the Beanstalk into Euro. Euro will not trigger at the Beanstalk though. Oh, I just have another Terminus. I see. I see. Okay, we have nothing. They have everything. Understood. Like a Murktide off the top isn't the worst here. A Daze. That probably is the worst. Right, our opponent now gets to replay this Uro from their graveyard and carry on with their life. Another carpet. Sure. I might as well whittle our opponent's clock down a touch so that we get more time to make decisions in game 3 than they do. Yep. Alright, this is a lot of stuff. I think we'll just skip up here. Alright, so we now have more information about what our opponent's doing. And it's a bit awkward, isn't it? So, I think we might need the Daze and the Force on the play just so we can stop Carpet, because I don't think we can beat Carpet Flowers. So what are we going to trim here is the question. The Stifles are a little bit underwhelming. I don't mind having some. Maybe we'll take out one Stifle for an extraction as well. Run like this. No turn 1 threat. But we do have Stifle Valley here. So I'm going to keep this. Wasteland, not Valley. Oh, I really hate these different named cards of things that should have the name. Right. So we could have played out the Scalding Tarn to have access to Lightning Bolt, but we haven't seen the Delighted Halfling from our opponent. Let's crack this. Are we supposed to be pondering here? That is our card for Force of Will. But I think we need to find some business here. Lightning Bolt isn't really business, is it? But the Brainstorm is nice. So we'll put these on top like this, and we'll hold up the Stifle, see if we can just get our opponent. But we need to have a counterspell ready for Carpet of Flowers for that plan to have any purchase. There's Misty Rainforest. I would rather Stifle the Prismatic Vista, because that one can only get them a basic. We will not fight over this Stifle if they want to expend their resources on it. Abundant Growth, that's fine. So we know what the top card is. I think we're just going to crack this. Get a Volcanic. And then Brainstorm. We're looking for threats here. Okay, we'll put back the Trop. And the Valley here. The Wasteland, sorry. I keep calling it a Valley. Alright. Here is our Channeler. We will pass. Holding up what looks like a Stifle to our opponent. Right, basic. 4 to 5 card decks that can play around Wasteland easily. Makes me a little bit sad. So they are locked onto that Brainstorm for now. But they're probably going to have things like Lorien Revealed they can cycle to shuffle as well. There's the Valley we didn't want. Landing bar, our opponent gets Surveil on. It's kind of what we're in for here, right? We just got to keep rolling. Ponder is nice, to be fair. That's an above average draw. There's a Misty. You're going to see an Uro here. Feels like an Uro. Just a plow. Okay. Up the Beanstalk. Yep. So we're going to have to ponder into some action on that turn. Nimble Mongoose is action, isn't it? I think we'll bury the Daze, keep the Force, and the Mongoose. Question is, do we play out our Valley here? I don't think we do. I'm probably going to end up shuffling it in with a Brainstorm. Although next turn we can then draw the Force of Will and just hold up Force of Will and just try and ride this Mongoose to victory. We can just hardcast Force of Will twice and hope that's good enough. There's Misty Rainforest. Another basic. Up the Beanstalk. That's fine. Like, it's annoying, don't get me wrong, but they're not advancing their board. They're just growing their hand. And hopefully they're just going to lose the game with a bunch of cards in hand that they can't get out. Now, if they find a Carpet of Flowers, then we'd probably lose. But crack this now. Alright, we're in. Play this out. We go to attacks. We just need to swing 2 more times. And we have 2 Force of Wills to stop something that can get in the way of this. It's going to be scrappy if we can get there, but I believe. 5 mana counterspell. We're not quite up to Terminus hardcast mana yet. Please don't play an Uro. Address Down. That's an interesting one with our opponent having 5 cards in hand. I think we are supposed to fight over this one. It gains them a card if it resolves anyway. A Spell Pierce. Yikes. So I think what's about to happen here is they're going to dress down and then they're going to Prismatic Ending our creature. It could be a plow, but it's one of the two. There's the plow, sure. Okay, so now we need to find a threat or 2 lightning bolts. Okay. If they have a fetch land and we find a lightning bolt, we're okay. If we win this game, we're going to have to very much limp over the finish line. But that's what I'm here for, I suppose. What is this? Yorion to hand. Okay. I think we keep this in hand. A Nimble Mongoose. I don't think we can let this Yorion resolve, so we just have to pass and try and Force of Will it. Because it's going to draw them a lot of cards. They're going to get 2 cards just off the cast trigger here. Let's fire off a Tarfire, our opponent here. Tribal Instant Goblin. Okay, a hard cast Force of Will. I would like to draw another mana source this turn. Weirdly, so I can play Mongoose and hold up Force. Pyroblast. That does counter the thing that we're worried about. Right, let's try the Goose. We want this to resolve, then we want our opponent to tap out for Yorion. Right, opponent's gone to 5. What nonsense are we about to witness? A Mystic Sanctuary. Putting a Swords to Plowshares on top of their library. That suggests to me that they have another dress down. Carpet of Flowers, yuck. That's game right there, I think. Oh, we're getting beat by Carpet of Flowers every round here. So our opponent was relatively hemmed in, so they couldn't have necessarily made all the plays they wanted to make. So now they're going to second main phase, and they get to make all the plays they want. So they can floop in a Yorion. Alright, Abundant Growth. So there's a possibility that the plow that they've got is so that they can plow their own Yorion if something happens. Okay, Address down. With enough mana to cast Yorion still. I think we just have to let this hit, and then we have to count the Yorion. It's going to draw 2 cards of the Beanstalk, but it will draw another 4 cards. I guess it can't draw cards now. Okay, it's going to plow this guy. So they can play the Yorion just as a 4/5. It won't flicker or anything because of the Dress Down. Another up the Beanstalk, so when Yorion does tick up, it's going to be a million cards. Okay, understood. Okay. A Ponder. I guess we are supposed to cast this Ponder. It's triple Dazes, no thank you. A Bauble. Let's deploy the Bauble. Prismatic Ending. Okay, it's not very friendly. So we don't have Force of Will up, we do have Pyroblast up. Dragon's Rage Channeler. That's a threat that can potentially do something. But we know our opponent's got a Prismatic Ending, so quite how much it's going to do, I'm not really sure. See the Yorion here. We're going to Pyroblast it, then they're going to hardcast a Force of Will targeting, I think. Let's counter this Yorion. I suspect this won't resolve. Yep, here's a hardcast Force of Will, exactly as I said it would pan out. Yep, which just draws them a whole bunch more cards with the Up the Beanstalk. If our opponent finds an Uro, we lose the game. But until that point happens, there might still be some game to play. Because our opponent is only on 5, and we could possibly string together a couple of bolts. There's only 2 left in our deck, though. We can make a massive Murktide. That will require a plow rather than a Prismatic Ending. They've already used 2 of their plows. They've already used their Mystic Sanctuary. They could have a second Mystic Sanctuary, though. So they're going to flicker... Oh, they didn't flicker the Beanstalks. I guess they just had enough cards already. I guess they would have to discard 6 cards instead of 3 if they flickered all their Beanstalks. So they're probably going to discard an Uro here. No Uro. Okay, so you're saying there's a chance. Alright, let's play this one out. This will eat a Prismatic Ending. We do have a Force of Will. Whether or not it's going to be relevant or useful. Teferi. I guess if we don't Force of Will this, we're never Force of Willing anything ever again. So, and I quite like the Surveil here. Brainstorm. Okay. That can stay on top, that's better than average. Another Teferi, sure. Be my guest opponent. Yeah, and Ponder. They've only got 5 minutes on the clock, but they should be able to win the game here. We just dodge the Uro for long enough to draw our 2 lightning bolts. Sure, they're bouncing our Channeler. They're playing a Carpet. That's a lot of triggers they're going to have to click through, though. They should be able to kill us in 4 minutes, though. I don't think that's going to be an issue for them. Is this going to be the Uro? It is, okay. So that puts us out of reach, I think, and we're done. Alright, that was a sad one. Once again, we lose to Carpet Flowers. I think if they don't have Carpet Flowers on that turn, their mana's kind of hemmed in a little bit and they can't make all the plays they want. And maybe we get to untap and push through the final bits of damage. But yeah, these Up the Beanstalk matchups are absolutely atrocious for our deck. So, yeah, not the best. Let's see if we can pick it up in the later rounds. Right, this is our opening hand. Obviously, it doesn't go anywhere, so we're going to mulligan this. Right, we can keep this one. We've got Mongoose and some things. I think we'll throw back a Brainstorm here. We want to keep the Bauble because it's another type for inevitable Goyfs and things. Grim Monolith. Okay, so we're not against a Yorion deck for once. That's a pleasure. Perhaps. We might be getting one ringed on turn 1 here. Of all the games I didn't go... I think I've gone first in every round apart from this one. Right, turn 1, the 1 ring. How do we beat that? How do we beat that? Lion's Eye Diamond. Okay. Friend definitely did some stuff there, didn't they? Let's see what's on top of their library. We can't do that actually because of the 1 ring, right? We can only see the top card of our library. Let's take a look. Nimble Mongoose. So do we play a Mongoose or do we hold up Stifle? think we might have to hold up Stifle. We don't really want to draw the Mongoose, so we're going to crack this now. There's a Monolith. There's a Voltaic Key. There's a lot of cards they're going to get this turn. Sure, untapping their Monolith rather than their One Ring. Mystic Forge, okay. There's Workshop. Untapping the Grim Monolith, sure. Another key. This one presumably is going to untap the ring. No, just the Monolith again. Okay. There's the Basalt Monolith. There's another One Ring. Okay. I don't think we're winning this game. It's interesting they didn't want to keep the other one. I understand for the purposes of this, but they could have been drawing a load more cards. I guess they're just playing from the top of their library now. Mesmeric Orb, sure. This lets them go through the entirety of their deck. I don't think we need to mess around with that. Right, I'd like Meltdowns, Cast into the Fire. Null Rod is fine here. And Grafdigger's Cage is pretty good. Sacred Extraction kind of can sometimes have text. This isn't really a matchup where we need bolts and things, so they can just trade out straight. For that, we keep all our counter spells in, obviously. Daze isn't great, but on the early turns we can pick up like a key or something, and then afterwards we can get them that way. Do want a Loam just so we can strip mine them out of the game with our Wastelands. I don't know if we do. Probably don't need this Vapor Snag though. We could board in Pyroblast just for the echo if we think our opponent's got that, but I think we're better off just having it like this. What does this hand do? Like, we can Wasteland them. We can play a Dragon's Rage Channel and Wasteland. That's not really going to get us anywhere. Now this hand is going to get us somewhere. So we keep this. I think we throw back. It's kind of a tough call what goes back here. It's probably the Stifle. It's either the Stifle or the Daze. Right. So we're keeping this, and we have to decide what we throw back here. Is it Daze or is it a Stifle? It's probably a Stifle, and we lead out on the Nimble Mongoose. So our opponent has a turn as explosive as before. Defense grid. That's fine. I'd rather just make sure we get our Null Rod down here. I can play a Karn. Mystic Forge, okay. So I can still cast these spells off the top. Mishra's Bauble. A bit of an awkward one. We could Brainstorm first and try and hit another land. I think that's probably worth doing. We did not hit another land. Understood. We don't really want this Mishra's Bauble. And this Daze isn't doing anything for us either. So we could have Dazed the defense grid, but then if our opponent has the right hand, they can just untap and win from that point. So I think it was right to wait a turn. Oh, there's a Saga, okay. Telling me we need a Wasteland. Understood. Okay. If they try and make a token in our turn, we can stifle it, and that will annoy them. Just attack for 2. Deploy a little friend here. They're already on 10 life because of their own Ancient Tombs. We haven't shown them the Stifle yet, so they might wait until our turn to try and make a Saga construct. And we can really blow them out with this with this Stifle, sorry. They did not play around my Stifle. That's exciting, isn't it? This Mishra's Bauble is not doing anything. We can't activate it because of the Null Rod, so we're just going to jam. They're going to activate their Saga. We're going to stifle it. They're going to be sad. That's half their life total done. Right, we can hold on this Mishra's Bauble and use it for a Surveil trigger off of a Dragon's Rage Channeler, or ideally Brainstorm it into something better. Sure, so getting a 5-5 here. So a Lightning Bolt at the moment would be lethal. We did board out our Lightning Bolts though, so very unlikely to draw them. They're over here. Another Saga, okay. Wasteland would be good. There's a Wasteland, okay. That was one of the things I asked for. So we have 5 cards in the graveyard. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold priority. We're going to play Mishra's Bauble. This is card number 6. And we're going to Spell Pierce this. For card number 7. And swing for lethal. Alright. It's power of Mongooses. So, do I want to do anything differently here? I don't think so. I think we have all the tools you really want. Daze obviously gets a lot worse on the draw. Don't mind a Vapor Snag to knock one of these little guys out. Do we still want these Dazes, or do we want just some lightning bolts here? Try and sort of close things out. Like the Dazes, if we can shut stuff off with Null Rod, but I think we probably just need these bolts here. And our opponent does hit their own life total a fair bit with Ancient Tombs. It's going to be tough on the draw. Our opening hand has Null Rod, so we're going to keep it. We also have the mana to play the game on, which is certainly helpful. City of Traitors into defense grid. Okay. You've made your point there, opponent. Let's go and get a Volcanic. Let's deploy the Channeler. Please don't kill me, opponent. Just 2 keys. An LED. And nothing else. Okay. Can live with that. Let's get my Surveil on. I would very much like this on top of my library, please. So next turn we Wasteland and play Tarmogoyf. Sure, you can have a defense grid. Okay, accidentally yield through the turn a bit there, but we are okay now. Play this out. So there is an argument for Wastelanding here, or we should probably save this for an Urza Saga, because that's the thing that actually beats us here. Mox Opal. Let's cast a Ponder here. Put it into the graveyard. Cast into the fire. Does that do anything for us here? Like we can Force of Will here as well. We will have 3. Oh no, there's 2 defense grids actually, isn't there? Alright, we'll just go any order and shuffle, I think. A Brainstorm, okay. I like this one. Some of these are things. I think we put back the counter spells here though. Let me deploy the Misty Rainforest, crack this. Go and get ourselves a Volcanic. Cast a Ponder. This does grow our guy. I think being able to stop them from playing anything from Mystic Forge is going to be pretty good. I don't really want all these cards though, but we can ponder them away. Alright, they're just scooping it up here. Alright, so we got the match there. This is more of the sort of deck that I wanted to play against. Like the combo decks where we can put a threat down and disrupt them. And obviously Null Rod is a pretty useful card here. We did get a bit lucky to find it in both of those games. But we do have the Grafdigger's Cage, which also helps a little bit. And we have Wastelands for Urza Saga. We kind of just have a lot of angles covered here. So this is more what I wanted to play. So I think that's 6 rounds and we're 3-3 now. Right, we're on the play again for this round. Let's see what we have. We have a turn 1 Dragon's Rage Channeler into some more stuff. It's a classic tempo hand. I will keep this. Let's get our Scalding Tarn down into a Volk and we'll play the Channeler. Opponent's got a Volk of their own, but no follow-up. How important is brainstorming here? I'm down to brainstorm. We need to get into our deck a little bit, mill over some cards. A Force of Will. I don't think we want that. We'll put that into the graveyard. Okay, I'm down with these cards that we have. So what is going to go back? I don't think we're going to want double Daze right now. We have to decide if we're wastelanding our opponent or playing a Nimble Mongoose. I think we'll play the Nimble Mongoose this turn. We play it before combat. If they want to interact with it, that gives us the opportunity to potentially Daze and get things going. Okay, so we have some island cycling from our opponent for an Underground Sea. So I'm looking at a Grixis Delver matchup, which is something that I should be okay with because we've got these Veils of Summer in the sideboard. But we'll see. If it's more on the Grixis control line, then we might be in a bit more trouble. Thought Seas. I think we can let our opponent take a card here. Okay, so we can make our Nimble Mongoose into a 3-3 next turn if we want to by pointing a lightning bolt at our opponent. They now know that they have a Daze they need to play around. But we have a Wasteland which might make it more difficult to play around the Daze. And if our opponent takes an extra turn to do that, then that's probably going to be good for us. We could be looking at something like a Snuff Out on our Dragon's Rage Channeler as well. A Tarmogoyf. Don't mind if I do. Play this pre-combat. That way if it gets countered... Did not get countered. Let's smash their Underground Sea. Bash for 2. And we've got Daze and a Lightning Bolt. Lotus Petal, sure. Alright, our opponent might be on something different to what we originally thought. Okay, looks like our opponent is on some kind of Beseech the Mirror deck. Infernal Tutor with 2 mana up. Right, I assume they're just going to pay for this, but they're going to Infernal Tutor with only 1 black floating. Cabal Ritual. They could string together a whole bunch more rituals here, and that would be annoying for us. Yep, there's a Cabal Ritual, and another Cabal Ritual. Okay, no, we're going to have the Infernal Tutor, revealing another Cabal Ritual. Yep, feels like they can just Tendrils us out here. 1 card left in hand. It's going to be a Tutor's on description. An Infernal Tutor, they get Tendrils, they point at our face, we lose. Alright, that'll do. Okay, so we got some decent tools for this one at least. So we have a Null Rod to shut down a bunch of their stuff. We have the Veil of Summers, which are going to be very useful here. And I don't think we want to try to do Life and Loam shenanigans. Pyroblast can only hit their cantrips, which is still reasonable, but not really sure that's where we want to be. The Vapor Snag is definitely coming out. We do not need that one. Stifle, very good here. Daze is playable. It's a case of how much red removal do we want. We can strip out some bolts here. Although the bolt's probably better than the baubles actually. Because our opponent might have ad nauseam lines that we can disrupt. There is an option for bringing a Meltdown if they play to the board, but I don't think that's going to be what's going to happen. We could play Grafdigger's Cage, which I think is worth doing. It stops things like the Gaia's Will if they're running that off of Beseech the Mirror, as well as Past in Flames lines. Right. This is a matchup I'm generally pretty happy with, but we need a hand that does more than what our hand does right now. I don't think we can just keep a Nimble Mongoose hand. I think we need to find some more. Okay. We can keep this one. I think we're probably getting rid of this Tarfire for now. So we're just going to lead out on the Veil of Summer here. So hold open Scalding Tarn. The next turn we can ponder to try and find the second land. Sure, just a ponder from our opponent. A Tarmogoyf. Right, so we're going to get a Volcanic for this one. And then we're going to ponder. We want the second land. Draw this. And pass a turn. So we're holding up Veil of Summer. Maybe we should have got a trop off of our first one, because then we can double spell more easily. Veil of Summer, what card? Let's have a Daze, that's pretty tasty as well. Okay, I think this is the turn we deploy the Goyf. And then we can hold up Stifle, Daze, and all sorts of stuff. So we've got Force of Will and Daze this turn. And we can untap with Stifle. A Dark Ritual. Interesting. Is this a bait spell? I don't know. Let's force this island to tap. A Lotus Petal, sure. A Lion's Eye Diamond. Okay. An Infernal Tutor. We will say no to this. Let's put a little Mongoose. Alright, let's give it up there. So we just need to do the same thing again, really. Do I want Pyroblast to sort of slow their roll a little bit? I don't think I do. I don't think we have the space for the Pyroblast here. Like, Daze is relatively easy for them to play around is the problem. But I think we need to keep all our ways of restricting their mana as much as possible, because quite often they need exact amounts of mana, so... It's got a Veil of Summer, but I don't think this works. Alright, this is much better. We'll keep this. Then we're getting rid of the Tarmogoyf. They haven't seen the Stifle yet, but I can imagine it's something they'll expect. Let's play out the Scalding Tarn and pass. Next time we'll play the Volk and drop the Channeler. A Ponder. I'm not going to Daze this. They shuffle their library. That's good news for us. Underground Sea. Okay. This is the turn we deploy the threat. Let's crack this now to avoid any timing issues later on. And deploy our DRC. Brainstorm from our opponent. I think we will cast a Brainstorm in the end step if we're given the opportunity to. If we don't have to Veil of Summer sort of thing. A defense grid, you say? How do I feel about defense grid? Not a big fan of defense grid. We can Brainstorm in response. Go on that ponder. For Stifles, ponders. None of these are really doing it for us, are they? Bury the Murktide and the Trop. Right, this is going to resolve. Hopefully they don't have just a bunch of rituals to go up the curve with here. They do not. I'm going to try and restrict our opponent's mana in a second using this Wasteland, I think. Put this into our graveyard. So we can attack for 3. Nimble Mongoose, Tarfire, Tarmogoyf. Do you want to restrict our opponent's mana with a Wasteland? Or do we just want to play a Tarmogoyf here? I think we just want to play a Tarmogoyf here. And hope they don't get us this turn. If we get to untap, we can cast a 4-drop. We can cast something through the defense grid. So we need to survive this turn, really. Easier said than done. Brainstorm, okay. That's not just immediately comboing off. Right. Dislike this. Please pass the turn, opponent. No. Bar it, sure. Thoughtseize, okay, they're probably going to take our Veil. So the Stifle, interesting. Not that I think it matters if they have it here. Only 2 cards in hand. They don't have Beseech the Mirror mana. Okay, now they do. So now they're going to Infernal Tutor for Beseech the Mirror. Cast Beseech the Mirror, getting Gaia's. That doesn't. Oh, it does actually work because they got the Lotus Petal in there. Yeah. This should be deterministic now. Wait, what? That was not what I was expecting. Alright, we get another turn, I suppose. So we can pay through the defense grid and Veil of Summer this turn. I guess I didn't have Beseech the Mirror in their deck. Otherwise, that was a deterministic line. Underground Sea. Lion's Eye Diamond. A Brainstorm. Interesting. Oh, and then we got that one. Okay, sure. So this is more of the matchup again that I wanted to play, the sort of combo decks where we apply pressure and have disruption. Stifle is what really makes this deck much better against Storm decks than some of the other Delver builds, because some of the Storm decks were farming Delver for a while, like with Galvanic Relay and stuff, but Stifle really changes the math on that a lot. Alright, another win on the board, a couple more rounds to go. We're going to keep it rolling. Alright, welcome to round 8. This is our opening hand we've been dealt here. We can ponder into some stuff, and we've got a Bauble as well. I think this is just about keepable. We could get left in the dirt by a Wasteland, but we'll see. A Swamp. Looking at Unmask. Okay. We're just going to get reanimated on pretty hard here, I think. Our solution to this is to go to game 2 and 3. Could be a quick round. Right, they're just arcaning. Sorry, they're just hitting us with the Unmask. That's interesting. And they've got an Entomb. Sure. Can't do anything about it, so. Right, let's ponder. Force of Will is something, isn't it? Would I rather have a Tarmogoyf or the... I think I'd rather have the Wasteland here. I need to draw through these cards anyway, so might as well just fire this off now. A Marsh Flats on top, sure. So we have a Force of Will for their first reanimation spell. And then hopefully we can get somewhere after that. There's the Marsh Flats we know about. There's a Lotus Petal. So it might be all in on whatever spell they're about to cast. I would like to Force of Will that pitching Ponder, please. Alright. This Valley is not really going to be helping us out. But here it is. We've got some Lightning Bolts. Not the most useful here. But I think we point them at our opponent's face to make things more difficult, because they have lots of cards that make them pay life here. We only have one red source, so. Start going upstairs. Misty Rainforest. Let's crack this. Let's get a threat into play. Oh, Tropical Island. We will deploy this using the Wasteland so we can hold up the Lightning Bolt. So we've got a 5/6. To crack this petal for anything, it becomes a 6/7, which is quite large. Not large enough right now, but... Well, it's large enough for what's happening right now, but in terms of some of the creatures they can deploy. So now let's get attacks. So our opponent is dead on the next turn. They're on 11. They can reanimate the Atraxa now, it's still good. They're griefing here. Let's bolt them to the face. Have their grief. Got one card in hand. Is that a reanimation spell? Feels like it might be. A hard cast grief. Okay. That's not so bad. Right, let's go for a Brainstorm here. So we can find the final points of damage to get over the end here. Stifle is an interesting one. But I think just brainstorming for more answers is probably better, isn't it? Let's crack this for Volcanic, I think. Let's go for another Brainstorm here. Okay, I guess we leave this Stifle in our hand and hope that it can do something if needs be. So they have to chump block here. We'll hit their Scrubland. If they can reanimate this Okay, they can't reanimate. So we got game 1. That's pretty good for us. We've got a bunch of useful things here. Grafdigger's Cage, the Surgical Extractions, and the Veil of Summers are all pretty handy here. Our burn spells don't feel amazing here. They are okay if we're trying to deal with the grief that they can put into play. Do we want anything else here? Or how are we going to fit these cards in? Stifle works against grief. Stifle does hit Animate Dead. That's one of the things that we can stifle with it. But I don't think we need the full set of stifles here. Trim one of those, and then we have to decide what we're doing from there. Trim them a Bauble. Just the Daze. Let's see if they keep their hand. They have kept their hand here. That probably means we lose the game. Alright, let's try and mulligan into Force of Will. Alright, we've successfully mulliganed into Force of Will. Chop out one of our lands. Bloodstained Mire. Lotus Petal. And nothing. Interesting. We'll just play out Tropical Island and pass. Nothing else from our opponent interesting. Right, let's put down a Misty Rainforest, and then we'll hold up Veil of Summer, and we can brainstorm whenever we like. Why don't my opponent keep their hand? Let's brainstorm here. Alright, I like a lot of these things I'm seeing here. What do we want to play next turn? One of our one-drop threats, I guess. I think we put the Mongoose on top, and then the Channeler. Then we'll draw the Channeler. Let's crack this. Volcanic. Let's pull the Channeler. Now we've got access to Stifle, Daze, Force of Will, and Veil of Summer. So they can't poke a hole through our Veil. I don't think we stifle this. Faith is Looting, that's fine, I think. It's an annoying one to try and counterspell because they can just flash it back next turn anyway. Or possibly even this turn. So I think we're better off letting that go. Grizzlebrand is in the graveyard. Understood. Another Faith is Looting, sure. We've got Stifle, we've got Daze. And we've got Force. And we got Veil. We got all of the things we want here. Dark Ritual. And Lotus Petal. Nothing from our opponent there. Okay. A Ponder. I think we ponder off of the Volcanic here, leaving open green mana. Put something good into the graveyard here. A Bauble, sure. Another Force of Will is quite nice here. You know, Ponder, Wasteland, Force. Good attacks. We won't be able to punch through with Discard here either, because we've got the Veil of Summer, along with Force of Will, Daze. So I'm quite happy with the position we're in, but we do have to reduce our opponent's life total to 0, which can take a while. These Stifles are technically our blue cards, so we don't really want to lose these ones. I think we're just going to see a flashback Faith is Looting here. I would like to Veil of Summer here. So do we want this Wasteland? It does make our Dazes better, but I think we can probably do better right now. Let's get rid of that one and draw a card off of our Veil. A Ponder, sure. We knew that was down there. What does our opponent want to do now? Pass a turn. Sure. Not even flashing back that Faith is Looting, which is interesting to me. So Extraction, just another layer of nonsense for our opponent to deal with. Do you want this Ponder? No, I don't think we need that Ponder right now. Another Surgical Extraction and a Wasteland. I guess we bury the Daze, have the Valley, the Wasteland even, and then draw this Surgical. Alright, we have all the things we could possibly want here, really. I would quite like another Veil of Summer. I suppose that's the only thing we're missing. But again, we can stifle a grief trigger if we want to. Exhume. Each player. Interesting. I think we will exile their Grizzlebrand first. They got loads of mana now. I don't need this Wasteland. Let's see what they got in their hand. So get rid of this one in the graveyard first. There's no more here. Their hand is Entomb Dark Ritual. So now they're going to Entomb. We will let this resolve, and then we will surgically extract the thing that they put in there. I don't think we need a Daze at this point. It would just be a blue card for Force of Will. Right, so we'll take this out. We'll take this out. They just have a Dark Ritual in hand. Do we want them to have... Do we want them to have a grief here? Is the question. I don't think we need them to have a grief here. We could just stifle it though, but I think we're just going to have all of the things. Our opponent just has Dark Ritual in hand. Surge Extraction, okay. Sure. Feels like a relatively difficult position to lose from, but you never know. Not seeing any like blue sources from our opponent for anything like a show and tell. I think we're going to see some flashback Faithless Lootings here. If that's how our opponent wants to spend their turn, that's fine by me. I think this Dark Ritual's probably going into their graveyard though. I don't think they need the mana for anything. There's a Dark Ritual, like I said. I would love our opponent to try and animate dead and let us get to stifle it. It doesn't come up very often, but it's good fun. Vapor Snag. Sure. It's another thing. Puts our opponent to 5. We just need to fade 2 of our opponent's turns. Into. Sure. They're not going to like what's about to happen. I can tell you that much. Archon of Cruelty. Alright, they've had enough, which is fair enough. Our draw was pretty good there. Now, we did do quite a lot of sculpting, and we did have a lot of useful cards in our deck, to be fair. So, again, this is the sort of matchup that I like to play with this deck, where we can put a threat, disrupt the combo player, and all that jazz. So we're locked in with a positive record for the tournament. We've got one more round to go. I'll see you in a bit. Hello, and welcome to the final round. Our opening hand does not play Magic, so when we get the opportunity, we're going to mulligan this one. This hand also doesn't play Magic because we have no lands. So we're going to have to throw this one back as well. It kind of plays Magic. I think we can't really afford to go lower here. And we'll get rid of one fetch and one non-fetch in case we have to worry about opposition agent and stuff. Ancient Tomb. Chalice for 1. Chalice for 1. Okay. Might be tough out here. We can cast spells into the Chalice to fill up our graveyard. Okay, I think we just wasteland our opponent and hope that they are relying on that Chalice to do some work. Plains, probably looking at some kind of initiative deck, would be my guess. So Volcanic Island and pass. So we can fire off a Daze here if something scary happens. But our opponent's deck probably has some number of Cavern of Souls in, but not this turn. It's going to be a Caves of Chaos Adventurer. 4th Eorlingus for 1. Paying around Daze. Yeah, they left one floating. Very smart. We're going to take 2 here, and then we're probably going to lose the game in relatively short order because they've got their own little Howling Mine going now. Alright, we've got a plan. It's not a great plan, but here we are. Let's crack this for a Tropical Island. Fire this Ponder off to fuel a Murktide. And then we can Lightning Bolt to fuel a Murktide and Daze. Cavern of Souls, sure. We can draw that card from the Monarch. We're going to Lightning Bolt our opponent. And we're going to Daze it as well. It did not give me priority to do the Daze. That's awkward. It's going to reduce the size of our Murktide by 1 here. Okay. We'll keep open our Stifle just so we can start filling up our graveyard with instants. So this is going to be an uncounterable Solitude here. Alright. I think that's probably going to spell the end of the game for us in relatively short order. We could draw a Tarmogoyf, which would at least be a 3-4. We could make it a 4-5 if we need to. But we don't have a lot of time left on this game. Yeah, our mulligan was pretty unfortunate. Mulligan into having most of our hand shut off by Chalice is pretty brutal. Okay. We've got Scalding Tarn. Don't think we need to play that out. Yep, we're getting a big 4th Eorlingus with 1 mana open to pay for Daze here. Yep, so that's 10 damage. That's lethal. Alright. We got thoroughly dismantled there, but we were starting with some issues there. So, Meltdown and Cast into Fire are things we can play. Nothing else we have here really matters. We just need to make sure we don't get chaliced out of the game here. I like our burn spells. Spell Pierce feels pretty medium, so that could probably go here. Daze is okay, but it's somewhat easy for them to play around, so we'll trim a couple of those. Would have liked a turn 1 play here. If we keep this, we are just relying on the top of our deck to provide us a land to do anything. I think we have to mulligan. Alright, this is something. So we could throw back a Volcanic Island so that we can get to Threshold quicker. But it does mean that we might get kind of screwed over by an Archon. But I don't think we can afford to play around that, to be honest. Get Trop, make a threat, make a Bauble. Catch us in now in case we draw a Forcible. Okay, a Magus of the Moon. Interesting. We don't really have an answer to that. Well, we can blow it up with red spells. We still have our removal. And Wasteland. Probably more inclined to get our Tarmogoyf down than anything else. Would you like to show us now, opponent? They're going to go for the Magus here? We know they have it, so sure. They have a Magus. Awkward. Unless we draw like Tarfire or something right now? No, we did not. Okay. Looking like we're going to get a bit run over here. So I can take damage here. A lightning bolt. That's a useful one, isn't it? I think I just want to get the Goyf down here. We want to get more cards in our graveyard for Mongoose. Crack this. Jam. A moderately sized creature. Attack for a small amount of damage. Next turn we can play another Tarmogoyf. And just have big beefy boys. It's going to be a Seasoned Dungeoneer. It is a Seasoned Dungeoneer. So we currently can attack through this unless they want their Seasoned Dungeoneer to die. Which I'm probably okay with. Because we then get a 4-5 into play. So we'll have like 9 power or so and our opponent will have nothing. Interesting. We could Brainstorm here. If we find the land, we do get to do lots of stuff. We did not find all the things here. We're definitely not casting Channeler this turn. We could, I don't think we're casting into Fire either, so just put that one on the bottom, and then the Channeler. So we could just cast this Tarmogoyf now. We'll attack with our Goyf and see what our opponent wants to do. We get to shuffle those cards off the top of our library if we want to. Just make a large yacht. Another Seasoned Dungeoneer. So they get the thing back and they can forge onto their guy if they want to. They are forging. No attacks. Interesting. A Stifle. We can remove our opponent's red mana, or we can just set them back some amount of mana. Both of these have some amount of interest to me. Let me take out the plateau here. If they want to tap their Ancient Tomb, that will help us out a little bit. So we take 5 from the trap, but we can stifle the Seasoned Dungeoneer trigger and then block a Seasoned Dungeoneer. So they might just attack with their little one. And we can get them a little bit here. Going to 7. Is this going to be a Chalice? Chalice would be really annoying, actually. It's like the perfect draw. I don't think they know it's the perfect draw, but I think you want to slam it whenever you can against Delver. There is the Chalice. Okay. If they attack here, they die. Because we get to use our Stifles to make our Mongoose a 3-power guy. They block 1, they take 4, 5, 6, 7. I would like our opponent to attack. Yes, they're going for it. 5, 6, 7, 8. This goes into the Chalice, but it pumps our Mongoose here. They have 1 card in hand here. And we're taking 10 to go to 1. But we have lethal on the backswing. What have I missed here? Very strange attack. I'll take it though. So do we do anything differently? Daze look even worse, but I don't think we can really do anything about that. Don't think trying to bring in Spell Pierce to stop a Chalice is a good solution to that problem. I think we just submit as is. We could drop a Daze and try and go into bring in a Loam to try and just take them off of land altogether. I'm not opposed to that. Okay, we can keep this. It doesn't have an immediate counter spell, but we have a threat. Just a basic plains. Okay, a Lotus Petal. Are they going to play a Chalice? That would make me sad. Oh, this guy loves Chalices. Big fan of Chalices, this line. Alright. A Tarfire. I think we play this into the Chalice to make our Tarmogoyf bigger when the time comes. Maybe like a Thalia, maybe? Just another Chalice. Okay. Alright. We understand, opponent. We'll put a sorcery into our graveyard. We're just building up to Murktide. Alright, we're going to see a big 4-drop now. It's probably going to be enough to beat us. It's a good one. A green source would give us a 3-4. If it's a fetch land, it gives us a 4-5. We did not draw one of those. Okay, so I think we're just going to put 2 types in the graveyard now. So our Tarmogoyf is 5-6. Possibly 6-7 if we can find a fetch land. Most of the initiative decks are off Chalice these days. But certainly doing a lot of work here. A Daze. So we take 7 plus 5 is 12. 2 more is dead. Alright, that's the end of our tournament. That was a very sad one, really. Normally, the initiative matchup is pretty reasonable. But we just kind of got a bit rocked there. Losing the die roll was a little bit awkward, I think. But such is life, really. Our opponent played around Daze very well in the first game. We just kind of got rolled by these Chalices. We could have mulligans, try and find a hand that dealt with the turn 1 Chalice. But you have a hand like that and you just lose to like Caves of Chaos Adventure on turn 2 or whatever. Whereas keeping a hand with a turn 1 threat is usually quite potent. Because you can then swing back take the initiative and really mess with them. Alright, that's the end of our tournament. We finished 5-4, sadly. Alright, so let's talk about the deck. Now, whilst 5-4 isn't a particularly good record, 3 of those rounds that we lost were to the Uro Beanstalk type control decks, which are an abysmal matchup, really, and they can, we can get underneath them sometimes, but it's going to be very difficult to reliably beat that deck with a deck like Delver or Canadian Threshold, because that's kind of what they're trying to prey on. They're trying to be grinding you out of the game with loads of card advantages, answering all your threats. So we lost 3 of those matchups, which is fair enough. It's a bad matchup. The other one we lost was the initiative just now, where in game 1 I think we mulled to 5, then got a hand shut off by Chalice on turn 1, and then on the 3rd game we never draw a second land to deploy our Tarmogoyfs, and then just lost because we didn't get to play any spells. So that round was kind of the bad luck that takes you out of the tournament type rounds. You're going to have them every now and then, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles, and there's no point getting mad about them. Sometimes they happen to you, sometimes they happen to your opponent, and if we'd have managed to just draw a land on the 2nd turn and deploy a Tarmogoyf, I don't know how different that game's going to look, but our Tarmogoyf is going to be large, and I think we had a second one as well. So things would have been a little bit different, but that's not the case there. So that was a bit unfortunate. I don't think that one was really telling of the matchup or the deck, really. But the other 3 matchups we lost against the Uro Beanstalk control decks, that does feel like a problem. I'm not really sure what we're supposed to do about that, because those decks are just designed to sort of predate on us. I don't know if we can run something like a Narset to shut down their drawing engine. That's certainly a possibility, and it has been a sideboard card in the past. So maybe something like that could be where to look here. What I did notice in this league as well was Murktide was kind of both good and bad at times. So there were situations where it shrunk our other creatures and then just immediately died, so we just kind of shot ourselves in the foot a little bit by playing it. But then there are other times where it was just a big guy and could just win the game. So I'd be curious to play around with the threat base of this deck a little bit more and see what we can do. Also quite like the idea of loaming into making our mongooses bigger and our Tarmogoyfs bigger. So maybe we could try something a bit more spicy. Have an Uro at the top end instead of the Murktide. It's a different sort of approach for sure, but would give us a little bit of staying power. It'd be something to try around with anyway. But that's it for this one. Plenty of rounds of Magic, so I hope you enjoyed this one. I do love a bit of the old Canadian Threshold. It has a special place in my heart because I used to play it a lot like 12 years ago. Alright, if you enjoyed this one, remember to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out. And if you know anyone who's interested in watching Legacy content, by all means send them my stuff. And if you have a cool deck you'd like to see on the channel, get in touch via the Discord or leave me a comment and we can sort out a donation deck for you. Alright, thank you very much for watching and goodbye.